Welcome to Ep.3 of the Women's World Cup on Betfair Australia. I'm Carly Adno and I'm joined by Katie Lambeski in Melbourne. Katie, I think it's fair to say that after the Matildas' performance against Nigeria, we may have considered that we'd be talking about something very different today, but I'm very grateful that the Matildas put in their best performance that we've seen for a very long time to completely obliterate Canada 4-0. And just when we were wondering if they would get out of the group, they've topped the group. What an incredible performance.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. What a night out in Melbourne. What a performance. As you mentioned, it's the best performance they've put in at this World Cup for a little while. I think ultimately it was just so well drilled, so well balanced. Every line across defence, midfield, attack, you could pick out a winner. There were so many contributors, such a balanced team performance. And yeah, as a result, we're in far better moods. I think today, if it didn't go the way that I thought, if it didn't go the way that it happened last night, I think we may have had to throw out the run sheet and just go through just a breakdown of the Matildas campaign alone. But the team lives to fight another day, and it looks forward to even more massive round of 16 clash coming up. So can't wait to break it down with you all today.
Well, let's start with that. I mean, they had so much pressure on them after that shock loss against Nigeria. They had the weight of the nation on their shoulders. There were a lot of people who thought they wouldn't be able to deliver with that pressure on them, but oh my goodness, did they deliver some and more. I think the choice of shifting Caitlin Ford out to her natural left and the combination with her and Steph Catley, and they obviously play together at club level for Arsenal too. It was just from the get-go, that combination was absolutely devastating, and Canada had no answers. They just couldn't contain the two of them coming down the left. And then the combination with Hayley Raso, oh my, she was just phenomenal. I had to do the player ratings, and for me, I mean, they all just put in exceptional performances. I couldn't find a single fault with any of them. But if you're looking for standouts, I think you'd have to say it was Hayley Raso, Caitlin Ford, and Steph Catley.
Yeah, that's a top three. That has to be the top three. If we want to go by straight up power rankings, that's the core three right there. Catley even converting from the spot as well in pressure as well. Bared no force on her at all. Really, just I think that was her best performance of the World Cup, and you can say that about a fair few players, yes, but I think she absolutely led from the front. Knows Caitlin Ford's game really well as well, so that connection down the left absolutely gave Canada fits. I mean, particularly for the goal, Mary Fowler's goal, particularly that third one, that was just sublime. Just down the left, the ball over the top, Caitlin Ford runs through, holds the ball up perfectly, oh so perfectly, and delivers the cutback pass for Fowler just to come through and do the rest with that back heel finish, just that bouncing off the post. That was just such a, I think, oddly symbolic type of goal. I mean, the established order crossing paths with the new order to deliver a goal that was almost unplayable. It was almost undefendable. The tricky run of Fowler as well. I mean, at the same time, with Catley forcing her will on the game, defensively, I also have to bring up Claire Hunt as well. Just that controlled, composed, remarkable performance from someone who only, I think, has 10 national caps to her name at this point. She played like she had about 100 to her name. We talked about the pressure and the headlines coming into this game. I mean, that would make many people buckle. You know, a home World Cup brings on a different kind of pressure, as we know. And for her to step up that way as well, it gave a platform for the team in front of her midfielders, her the attackers in front of her, really gave a platform and really gave a springboard for that attack to happen. I think it gave the confidence. It takes a team working together. It really does. I mean, the lines, okay, once the space starts to open up between the lines, you see things start to come a little unstuck. You see the midfield start to come a little unstuck. So it was a team, I think, that was quite in sync with itself and knew what they wanted to do, and they carried it out, I think, to perfection. And the early goal helped. I think you have to say Hayley Raso put in an absolute star-making performance. Didn't blaze any of her shots at all. Just picked her moments. Just knew exactly where to strike the ball and place the ball. Unreal. Phenomenal performer, phenomenal talent, and with the grit to back it up as well. So many performers across the board getting it done on the night.
Yeah, and I suppose you also have to mention Katrina Gorey and Cara Cooney-Cross there in the midfield. Oh, they just were absolutely phenomenal workhorses, the two of them. And it was particularly pleasing to see after the game, Arsenal legend Ian Wright tweet a particular praise for Cooney-Cross and how good would it be to see her join the Arsenal contingent at Arsenal? I mean, the fact that he noticed her and pointed her out. She had another amazing game, and she just seems to grow in confidence and composure, and obviously helped by having Gory beside her.
Absolutely, and I would hope she chooses a red of a certain different variety, maybe a Manchester red eventually. Again, Katrina Gorry, just that phenomenal work rate. I think the distance she covered, her passing range. I do think there's a slight concern with the team, with structurally, in the sense that opposition teams, I should say, once they know to press Katrina Gorry, once they put the pressure on her and don't allow her time and space, that's when things start to break down a little bit. So that just goes to show how important Gorry is. And that goes to show how important the energy of Cooney-Cross, and even an Alex Chidiac, who quite frankly baffles me that she's seen minimal minutes this World Cup. That's going to be, getting the balance right is important. Okay, we can look at those performances and that high energy, that different blend, that different energy that Cooney-Cross and Gorry combine with. But at the same time, this team needs also a bit more attacking impetus, particularly with teams of a higher quality who are going to come up and who are going to attack and who are going to sense the opportunities, particularly in an attacking sense. We need a balanced midfield. Okay, and I think Chidiac goes some way to doing that. It's not a knock on Emily Van Egmond. Fantastic player and has been a servant of the Matildas for some time. But I think you need to adopt a best play-by-play, horses for courses, if you will, type of approach. And I think Chidiac goes a long way to resetting that balance and giving a different dimension, particularly through that midfield. So that was something. Okay, it's not to bring criticism to this, but I think it's important because I think the way that the squad is managed has left some room for improvement, which we can talk about from Tony Gustafsson's end. But that it's getting the balance right through that midfield. As good as that combination is through the midfield, it needs to have a balance through it in order for it to work throughout this World Cup if this team's going to go all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it is a long tournament. I mean, it feels like it's already been long, but they only just made it out of the group stages. There's a long way to go. So, management of that squad is hugely important. The Sam Kerr issue, she was never going to play, was she? She didn't even come out for the warm-up. I don't think there was any chance of her ever getting on the field. Luckily, she wasn't needed and she gets that extra week to recover. Will we see her next week?
I don't know, honestly. It's a bit of a saga. It's the most discussed thigh in the country since the Colonel. So I think ultimately I hope she's okay. I just want to say from a personal view, from a personal standpoint, I hope she's doing okay, because honestly, having a home World Cup is a massive opportunity. It doesn't come across for everyone, and you're very lucky to get one in your career, in your professional lifetime, if you will. So I hope she's doing okay. I can see that this would be a very difficult time for someone as professional, as someone as talented and driven as what she is. For her, I can't see her being happy at all to be playing that minimal role. I think, ultimately, yes, it's 6 days. Now is on her side for her to heal up, for her to rest that thigh and continue to work on it, and hopefully all goes well. Even if we see her for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour in the knockout phases as an impact player, I think the starting front three of last night with Razzo, Fowler, Ford, it's a pretty good problem to have, right? We spoke about the depth pre-tournament. It's about that, and I hope that, fingers crossed, Sam Kerr gets up. Fingers crossed that she takes her place in this team, which she deserves to. And it remains to be seen. And again, there'll be a lot more speculation and conjecture, and I just hope that it all turns out well in the end.
I mean, when you think about Steph Catley's comments after their first group game against Ireland, when she said, "Sam will always be our spiritual leader, no matter what role she plays during this World Cup. It's quite telling now that you think about it. I think, and the fact that they've been so cagey about if she's trained, has she trained, how is she doing? But you're right. Everyone hopes that she plays, hopes that she's doing okay under the circumstances, because this would be a massive emotional roller coaster for her to be going through. It's the tournament that she's worked so hard to be part of. She's one of the leading football players in the world, and this would be really hard on her.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Our thoughts are with her. That's someone who I think transcends sport. I think in this country, she's become quite that charismatic figure. Someone who is fearless. Someone who is, for all intents and purposes, the leader of this team. She's like even on the touchline last night, just continuing to get out there and almost coach and just encourage her players. That's a massive boost. I think it has to be a massive boost for the group seeing her there. You know, her attitude I think has been second to none. Really, just she's embraced the tournament. She hasn't let that personal feeling, that personal disappointment she undoubtedly must be feeling, she hasn't let that cloud her at all. She was in good spirits at the press conference as well. So yeah, rest up, Sam, heal up, Sam, and get out there in this tournament. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, fingers crossed for her. Now, we've spoken extensively about Hayley Raso. The night before, we saw an incredible match between Colombia and Germany, and Hayley Raso's new teammate at Real Madrid, Linda Caicedo, was phenomenal for Colombia. That game was in Sydney. It was a sellout crowd. Is she one of the best players you've ever seen? That footwork for that goal that she scored, the finishing, how exciting that she's going to be playing with Hayley Raso at Real Madrid, and how exciting that we get to watch her in this tournament.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you brought her up. She's taken this World Cup by storm. She's only 18. I mean, she's a remarkable story in her own right. That goal, just the touch, the first touch, the finish. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew where she wanted to take that ball. Just what a remarkable instinct. I can't put it even into words. What a star was born, really, I think, on Sydney that night. And just a bit of a background on her story. You know, she survived ovarian cancer at the age of 15, underwent chemotherapy, underwent surgery, and ultimately she had a bit of a convoluted lead up in the week as well, collapsing during training as well, collapsed on the field, had a moment on the field as well, had a spell in the hands of the doctors. We assured she's okay, and we assured that it was all stress related, but this young woman has seen remarkable adversity, really, already at such a young age, and for her to go on the biggest stage in front of a heaving crowd, in front of her countrymen, the Colombian flags in the crowd, the noise that they made, that's got to be telling. And she went into that cauldron and absolutely smashed it and made it her moment. I can't wait to see what she does with Hayley Raso at Madrid next season, and that's something to follow post this World Cup. That's going to be an unbelievable storyline. I can't wait to see how that plays out.
And Raso, another player who's overcome adversity herself. So just so many stories in this World Cup. It's quite incredible. And that result, Colombia beating Germany. Germany, one of the favorites. That was a huge result. Did any other results surprise you?
Honestly, I didn't get to see this live, but Spain and Japan took me back. It really, really did. I think Japan, catching up with the highlights and catching up with some of the stats, had only like 5 touches in the box for 4 goals. They were ruthless in just taking their chances and exploiting it in the moment, and that they've come up at a really, really good time. I think they made a real statement with their result, and I had them as a dark horse coming into this. As we did our pregame, I think Japan particularly are going to cause some havoc. I think they look well adjusted. They haven't conceded a goal yet at this tournament, so they've set themselves up really well for a serious tilt at the knockouts and through the finals, of course.
On our predictions, we were both incorrect with Australia's group. We both predicted that it would be the Matildas and Canada to make it out the group. In fact, it's the Matildas and Nigeria out the group. But look, we were definitely in the majority with not expecting Nigeria to get it out. I was going with England as a contender to win the tournament. Um, I suppose they still could. They haven't been overly convincing, but I still believe they have the star power to be able to get a huge result in this World Cup. How are your predictions going?
Look, at the moment, I still think that core of Spain, Germany, USA, and England, as we were talking about pre-tournament, I think they were. I think they hold up pretty well, to be honest. I know the US had that setback against the Netherlands, drawing 1-1. I, to be on the England side of it, I think Lauren James is an absolute star, as she showed in that result, in that 1-0 win. I think as we go to air tonight, they will play against China in their final group game, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that to see how it shakes out. But I still think they're growing into the tournament. Things are a little bit under the radar for them at the moment, and I think that's a situation that they would prefer. I think they would. I don't think they mind other teams having the eyes on them, like Spain, like Germany, of course Australia with the home World Cup as well. They're just growing into it. Again, it's coming good at the right time, and I think there's still the undoubted quality there, as we know. But in the same time, Alessia Russo hasn't had much of an effect as yet. They haven't conceded a goal as yet either, England. So there's still stuff for them. There's still stuff for them to work on and still stuff to grow on. It's about coming good at the right time for them.
What about the USA, held by the Netherlands? You can never discount them though. They just have too many superstars. Would you reckon they're still up there as favorites?
Yes, yes. I think given the quality that they have, they had Lindsay Horan score the equaliser and would end up being the equaliser in that game against the Netherlands. So it's another route to goal possibly. Sophia Smith, Alex Morgan. Megan Rapinoe has had minimal time so far in this World Cup, so it's about maybe her getting more minutes into her legs, particularly in the last game of the group stage coming up for them. It's again, they just develop good players. They develop some of the best in the world, and they know what it is to win. They know what it is to win World Cups. They know what it takes, and they're going to rely on that experience, plus matching the youth of Sophia Smith, who's come along in leaps and bounds at her first World Cup. I'm not too concerned about them at the moment. The Netherlands approached that game in the right way. If it ain't Dutch, it ain't much. At the end of the day, I think they did pretty well in adapting to the US. And I'm not too concerned. I think England and USA still have the capability. They still have the quality to go through in these next few rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still a couple of really exciting final group games to look forward to. Showing my bias, I guess, I'm really looking forward to South Africa's game against Italy. It's a game that they have to win if they want to progress. It would be a huge achievement for the country if they manage to progress. They've never done so before. They've really made a name for themselves, arriving, singing and dancing, and their energy has been amazing. And I would love to see them spring a surprise. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but it would be good if it did. Are there any other games that you're really looking forward to seeing?
I have to say Jamaica versus Brazil is the one. I think for me that's coming up here in Melbourne, so that's going to be an absolute cauldron of atmosphere as well. Brazil have unleashed some real talent in Ari Borges and Debinha as well, so they're riding that momentum, they're riding that wave. I mean, they did, particularly looking at the Brazil perspective. They took on the French. They took it right up to the French for a long part of that game. Wendy Renard, of course, ghosting into the box for that winning header. So they might feel a little bit hard done by a little bit, but at the same time I think they'll be the slight favourites going in against going in against Jamaica, excuse me. But I think on the back of Ari Borges, I think has scored 3 goals so far this World Cup. He's really stepped up. Marta, of course, to come off the bench as well, likely. So that's the game. That's the game for me heading into the next weekend.
Katie, we can't sign off without mentioning the Channel 7 stats that they released today, that the Matildas match against Canada was watched by 4.71 million people. Again, more people, a bigger audience than the Ashes, but it also is their most watched program of 2023, which is just another remarkable stat. We ran through a few last week, and this is just another one. Goodness me, this tournament is just breaking all sorts of records, isn't it?
It really, really is. Just looking through that Channel 7 press release that they released this afternoon, an average audience of 2.42 million, yes, a national broadcast audience of 2.16 million. The number one broadcast program last night nationally and in the capital cities in all people across broad demographics, 16 to 39 years old, 25 to 54 years old. I know that this team's audience, particularly through the jumper sales as we knew pre-tournament, skewed younger, but it's speaking to a lot of different people. You know, when we talk about young girls, but also young boys going to the games with their parents. You know, they're seeing that women playing football is normal. They're being conditioned to that. So looking at that has been absolutely amazing. And the numbers are bearing that out. The numbers are telling us that there's demand for this World Cup. Perhaps that more may have realised, perhaps the organisers may well have realised, I think. And in terms of the attendances, they're still astounding. I think they're averaging 30,000, just about over 30,000 each game, week in, week out. Some of the scenes we've been seeing, the atmospheres we've been seeing, it's a meeting of languages, flags, colours, culture, all meeting in the one place. And that's the beauty of a World Cup. And to think this is happening in our backyard, to think this is happening in our great country, is absolutely amazing, and it's indescribable, really. And it's gone beyond, I think, my imagination. It's been a slow build, but it's been worth the wait. It's been worth the wait, and people are tuning in. There's a demand for it. But like I said last week, it doesn't stop here. Let's continue to grow the game. Let's make it better for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can just speak on behalf of myself and my 7-year-old daughter, who has been absolutely engrossed in this World Cup. She's been to games. She's completely obsessed with female soccer now, and it's just incredible that she's at this impressionable age, growing up watching women's soccer. And you mentioned it's across all demographics. I was reading some comments on social media earlier today, and there's plenty of comments from middle-aged men saying, you know, they've grown up watching football their whole lives. It's only been men's football, but what an absolute pleasure it's been to watch this World Cup and the quality of the women's game. It's just amazing. So we've mentioned all those records. You also mentioned that they might not stand for very long, because next week we have a huge knockout game that the Matildas will be featuring in. These records could be tumbling yet again.
Absolutely for the some weeks ahead as well. Like, if this team gets on a roll and gets to the final, it's just going to reach absolute pandemonium fever pitch. I think that some of the colours, as we saw in the lead up to last night's game across Fed Square, not even in Melbourne as well, so live sites in Perth, live sites in Sydney, people are flocking to these live sites, and they want to take it in, and they want to take it in as a community, as almost as like a country. Almost, it's unreal. It's particularly people coming together of a common interest. Even people who don't follow the game but have caught up on the headlines, have caught up on some highlights, have caught up through word of mouth, they're getting involved. So I got people asking me about the World Cup who I never thought would. You know, I got people talking to me about women's soccer for football that never would. So it's absolutely amazing, and I think we would be remiss to leave that out. And it's great that we brought that up, and I think that it's only going to get even bigger from here. So the tickets are in hot demand as well. Some of the, you know, if you have a look online, there's all low availability signals across all the FIFA game sites there. So get out to a live site as well. Take it all in and enjoy it, because very rarely do we get these sort of opportunities to take this all in.
Well, on that note, we will be back this time next week, hopefully discussing more good news about the Matildas' progression in the tournament. So thanks so much for joining us. Thank you, Katie, for joining us again, for joining me again, and let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Great pleasure as always, Carly. Let's take it all in and break it all down for you next week.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.